To what extent do you care what other people think of you? I thought for a very long time how liberating to see those people really that just don't give a shit what anybody thinks of them. It felt very aspirational almost. And yes, it resonated with kind of my rebellious nature. I always gravitated towards people who just kind of did their own thing and not really caring much about what anybody thinks about that. That's how you stick out in art and in culture and in life. That draws a lot of attention. That seems courageous. And there's this really interesting juxtaposition taking place, these two forces of trying to fit in and belong, of wanting to be part of a group, to be accepted, to be loved. And usually we get accepted and loved by not being radically different to everybody else, because that kind of scares people. It's also impressive. It's also admirable, but, it scares a lot of people. Like attracts like is what they say. And that makes sense, right? So on the other hand, we also want to be individual, particularly in individual cultures, like most Western cultures. We want to be our own person, So that creates an interesting tension, because I've had a lot of those people in the coaching room that are really very different. And everybody's different, right? Everybody's quite unique. But the people who really stick out, it often feels quite lonely, because those people don't necessarily choose to not care about what anybody else thinks. Often that can be a defense mechanism, right? Something that protects you, some narrative that you've created, that you don't really care about other people and what they think. But when you really dig and explore somebody's experience of that, most people care about what other people think. Because it goes into this natural desire to belong and to connect and to be part of a group. And when we're super different, it's difficult to feel that sense of belonging. And that can feel really quite lonely. And existentially, we're all lonely because we're all different and nobody can really understand what it's like to be me. And we can lean into some of those differences. We can lean into our character strength and our unique combination of values and skills and experiences and memories. But it also feels lonely not to belong. So I see a lot of people trying to fit in and not show up authentically, and just kind of either lean into a part of themselves that belongs in that moment, or maybe not give a voice to a disagreement or to a challenge, just to not rock the boat and not offend anyone, and just kind of keep the waters calm. And some people outright just change how they show up so that they would be accepted. And then it feels very inauthentic, and there's a growing sense of, I'm not really being me. I just became this person that is like everybody else, even though deep down I know that's not me. And that's a big source for mental health problems, right? So I don't know what the solution there is, right? Because if we're just unapologetically be radically different, it can feel really lonely. And if we're just leaning too far on the other end of the spectrum, then we're just changing ourselves to fit in, and that's not healthy either. So in which situations are you going to adapt and fit in? In which situations are you going to hold your boundaries and stand up for yourself? Is there a balance? Is this context specific? Navigating this can be a real dilemma. And that's what I often hear in my coaching room. Like, how do I show up? To what extent can I be fully authentic? It might not be appropriate to be fully authentic at work, right? Then there's also many different versions of your authentic self. You're going to be different with colleagues, with your kids, or with your loved ones. So navigating that doesn't have clear rules. Everybody needs to make their own rules. So I can only recommend that you find someone where you can speak some of these things out loud, reflect on it, have someone who help you navigate that, rather than just give you solutions of how this is being done, because everybody needs to find their own path through navigating this spectrum.